The void of space, vast and unyielding, has always been a canvas for humanity's wildest dreams. Yet, what happens when those dreams twist into something far darker and far more extraordinary? Centuries after Earth's first ventures beyond its atmosphere, humanity had colonized distant worlds, but the price of survival in the unforgiving cosmos came with unexpected consequences. In the shadow of dying stars and amidst the radiation-soaked void, life itself began to mutate, not just in humans, but in every organism that dared to call this hostile environment home. What emerged was neither wholly human nor animal, but something entirely new, beings of unimaginable power, driven by instincts alien even to their creators. On board the research vessel Erebus Dash, a team of scientists monitored these changes closely. The ship orbited a desolate moon known as Solis 9, where an experimental colony had been established decades prior. The colony's inhabitants, once ordinary humans and domesticated animals, were now subjects of fascination and fear. The researchers documented strange phenomena: crops growing at impossible speeds, livestock developing bioluminescent patterns, and settlers exhibiting abilities that defied the laws of physics. Telekinesis, energy manipulation, and even partial immortality were reported, though no one could explain how such traits had arisen. The data suggested that cosmic radiation, combined with microgravity and prolonged exposure to exotic planetary atmospheres, triggered rapid genetic mutations. These mutations weren't random. They seemed purposeful, as if nature itself was attempting to adapt life to survive the harsh realities of space. But adaptation came at a cost. Colonists who displayed these newfound powers often suffered from debilitating side effects, psychological instability, physical deformities, and an insatiable hunger for energy sources. Some whispered that the mutations were not merely biological but spiritual, that the cosmos was awakening dormant potential within all living things, reshaping them into something greater, or perhaps something monstrous. As the story unfolds, we delve deeper into the origins of these cosmic mutants, exploring their struggles, their triumphs, and the existential questions they pose about the future of life itself. Are they the next step in evolution, or are they harbingers of doom? Only time will tell. It began subtly, almost imperceptibly. A farmer named Elias Carter noticed it first while tending to his hydroponic garden on Solis 9. His crops, once stunted and frail due to the moon's thin atmosphere, suddenly grew taller, stronger, and faster than anything he'd ever seen. Their leaves shimmered faintly under artificial light, pulsating with a soft glow that mimicked the rhythm of his own heartbeat. At first, he attributed the phenomenon to improved fertilizers or altered environmental conditions, but deep down, he knew something stranger was at play. When he touched one of the glowing plants, a jolt of electricity surged through his hand, leaving behind a tingling sensation that lingered for hours. Word spread quickly among the colonists, and soon others reported similar anomalies. Livestock began behaving erratically, their eyes glinting like polished gemstones in the dim light of the settlement. Chickens developed feathers that refracted sunlight into dazzling rainbows, while cattle exhibited enhanced strength, capable of breaking free from reinforced pens without effort. Even the colony's pets weren't spared. A dog belonging to a young girl named Mira started levitating small objects with its nose, much to her delight and her parents' alarm. But it wasn't just the animals that changed. Humans, too, began manifesting strange abilities. A mechanic named Jara discovered she could manipulate metal with her bare hands, bending steel plates as easily as clay. Another colonist, an elderly man named Victor, found himself able to heal wounds simply by touching them. Yet, these gifts came at a price. Victor's body aged rapidly whenever he used his healing powers, forcing him to choose between helping others and preserving his own life. Jara, meanwhile, experienced excruciating migraines after each use of her ability, as though her brain struggled to process the sheer force required to reshape matter. Scientists aboard the Erebus scrambled to make sense of the transformations. They theorized that prolonged exposure to cosmic radiation, coupled with the unique mineral composition of Solis 9's soil, had triggered unprecedented genetic shifts. However, the mutations didn't follow any predictable pattern. Some individuals gained incredible abilities, while others succumbed to grotesque deformities. Children born on the moon often arrived with translucent skin, allowing observers to see their organs functioning beneath the surface. Others developed additional limbs or sensory organs that granted them heightened awareness, but also rendered them unable to communicate effectively with their peers. Despite the chaos, there was an undeniable allure to these changes. For centuries, humanity had dreamed of transcending its limitations, of becoming more than mere flesh and bone. Now, that dream was becoming reality, but at what cost? As the colonists grappled with their newfound identities, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Some embraced their mutations, seeing them as proof of evolution's boundless potential. Others viewed them as curses, reminders of humanity's fragility in the face of the infinite unknown. And then there were those who saw opportunity, a chance to wield power beyond comprehension, regardless of the consequences. Deep within the core of Solis, 9 lay a secret that would change everything. Beneath layers of rock and ice, ancient machinery hummed with latent energy, remnants of a civilization long extinct. The colonists had dismissed these artifacts as geological oddities, but recent seismic activity revealed their true nature. Cracks formed across the moon's surface, exposing intricate networks of crystalline structures that pulsed with otherworldly light. It became clear that these formations were not natural, they were conduits, designed to channel cosmic energy into the planet's ecosystem. The colonists unwittingly tapped into this system, accelerating their mutations and awakening dormant potentials buried within their DNA. The discovery sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Researchers aboard the Erebus analyzed samples of the crystalline material, finding traces of an unknown element they dubbed Etherium. This substance radiated waves of energy unlike anything recorded in human history. Exposure to Etherium caused cells to rewrite themselves at an accelerated rate, unlocking hidden genetic codes and granting access to abilities previously thought impossible. However, prolonged contact proved dangerous. Test subjects exposed to concentrated doses of Etherium exhibited signs of psychosis, losing touch with reality as their minds expanded beyond mortal comprehension. Back on the surface, the colonists felt the effects firsthand. Abilities that once seemed sporadic now intensified, growing more refined and powerful. Those who had struggled to control their gifts found themselves mastering them overnight. Telekinetic users could now lift entire buildings, while healers restored life to those on the brink of death. Yet, the cost of this progress weighed heavily on everyone. Physical strain became unbearable for many, leading to frequent collapses and blackouts. Worse still, the psychological toll was immense. Mutants began experiencing vivid hallucinations, hearing voices that whispered secrets of the universe, or perhaps lies meant to drive them mad. Amidst the turmoil, factions began to form. Some advocated for cautious exploration of their newfound abilities, urging restraint until more was understood about the risks involved. Others pushed for immediate exploitation, believing that humanity stood on the cusp of godhood. Conflicts erupted over control of the crystalline structures, with groups vying for dominance over what they saw as the key to ultimate power. Violence escalated, turning the once peaceful colony into a battleground for supremacy. Against this backdrop of chaos, a single question loomed large. Was this transformation a gift from the cosmos, or a test designed to weed out the unworthy? As the colonists wrestled with their fate, the answer remained elusive, but one thing was certain. Life on Solis 9 would never be the same again. While most colonists struggled to cope with their mutations, a select few began to rise above the rest. These individuals, dubbed elites by their peers, demonstrated mastery over their abilities that bordered on supernatural. Among them was Cale Armitage, a former engineer whose telekinetic prowess allowed him to manipulate entire fleets of drones simultaneously. His precision was unmatched, and his presence inspired both awe and fear. Another standout was Lyra Voss, whose empathic connection to living organisms enabled her to calm raging beasts or incite panic among crowds with nothing more than a glance. Her influence extended beyond the colony, earning her the nickname the Whisperer. These elites quickly became central figures in the colony's hierarchy, forming councils to guide decision-making and mediate disputes. Their leadership brought temporary stability, but it also sowed seeds of resentment. Those who lacked such refined control over their powers resented being overshadowed, while others feared that the elites might abuse their abilities for personal gain. Rumors circulated of secret experiments conducted by Cale and Lyra, where they allegedly tested methods to enhance their gifts further, even if it meant sacrificing weaker members of the community. Yet, despite their growing authority, the elites faced challenges of their own. Each time they pushed their abilities to new heights, their bodies paid the price. Kale's constant use of telekinesis left his muscles racked with pain, forcing him to rely on painkillers just to function. Lyra, meanwhile, suffered from migraines so severe that they blurred the line between her psychic visions and reality. Both knew that their powers came with a finite lifespan, yet neither could resist the temptation to explore their limits. As tensions mounted, a schism formed within the colony. One faction, led by the elites, argued for unity and cooperation, emphasizing the importance of working together to harness their collective potential. Opposing them was a group of rebels, composed of disenfranchised colonists who believed that survival depended on individual strength rather than communal effort. Skirmishes broke out, escalating into full-blown confrontations as both sides sought to assert dominance. In the midst of this turmoil, whispers of a prophecy began to circulate. Ancient texts unearthed during excavations hinted at a chosen one, a mutant destined to unite the fractured colony and lead them toward a brighter future. Whether this figure existed remained uncertain, but the idea took root in the minds of many, offering a glimmer of hope amid despair. Little did anyone realize that the fulfillment of this prophecy would come not from the elites, but from someone far less expected. The prophecy served as both a beacon of hope and a source of paranoia. As interpretations varied, so too did the actions of those seeking to claim its mantle. Some believed the chosen one would emerge from the ranks of the elites, given their unparalleled abilities and leadership roles. Others argued that the prophecy pointed to someone untouched by ambition or corruption, an outsider capable of restoring balance to the fractured colony. Amidst these debates, suspicion festered, poisoning relationships and eroding trust. Kale, ever pragmatic, dismissed the prophecy as superstition, yet he couldn't ignore the unrest it stirred. He doubled patrols around the crystalline structures, fearing sabotage from rival factions. Lyra, however, found herself drawn to the idea. Her empathic abilities gave her glimpses of fragmented thoughts and emotions swirling through the colony, painting a picture of desperation and yearning. She began spending nights poring over the ancient texts, searching for clues that might reveal the identity of the prophesied leader. Meanwhile, the rebels seized upon the prophecy as justification for their cause. They claimed the chosen one was already among them, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the right moment to strike against the oppressive rule of the elites. Their rhetoric fueled dissent, drawing recruits from disillusioned colonists eager for change. Raids on supply depots and sabotage of critical infrastructure became commonplace, pushing the colony closer to collapse. Amidst the chaos, a quiet voice spoke up. A young woman named Sarah, orphaned at birth and raised in obscurity, began sharing stories of her dreams. Vivid and surreal, these visions depicted a world transformed, not by war, but by harmony. She described a future where mutants coexisted peacefully, their powers harnessed for the greater good. Though initially dismissed as fanciful nonsense, her words resonated with a growing number of colonists weary of conflict. Sarah's emergence sparked heated debate. Was she truly the chosen one, or merely another pawn in the endless struggle for power? The uncertainty only deepened divisions, setting the stage for a confrontation that would alter the course of the colony's history forever. Tensions reached a boiling point when a catastrophic event shook the colony to its core. A massive explosion tore through the central hub housing the crystalline structures, releasing a surge of raw, ethereal energy that rippled across the moon. Buildings crumbled, communication systems failed, and countless lives were lost in the ensuing chaos. Panic spread like wildfire as survivors scrambled to regroup, unsure whether the blast was an accident or an act of sabotage. Initial investigations pointed fingers at the rebels, whose rhetoric had grown increasingly militant in recent weeks. Evidence surfaced implicating several high-ranking members in planning the attack, though no definitive proof linked them directly to the detonation. The elites, desperate to maintain order, imposed martial law, rounding up suspected insurgents and confining them to makeshift detention centers. Accusations flew back and forth, further polarizing the already fractured community. Yet, amidst the devastation, unexpected alliances began to form. Ordinary colonists, united by grief and shared loss, banded together to rebuild what remained of their shattered home. Acts of kindness emerged from the rubble, strangers sharing dwindling supplies, neighbors pooling resources to construct temporary shelters. Even some rebels, horrified by the scale of destruction, laid down arms, and joined the recovery efforts. It was during this fragile period of reconstruction that Sarah stepped forward. With the colony teetering on the brink of annihilation, she called for a gathering of all factions, urging them to set aside differences and focus on survival. Her impassioned plea struck a chord, drawing hundreds to a makeshift assembly hall constructed from salvaged materials. There, she shared her vision of a unified future, appealing to the humanity still buried beneath layers of mistrust and fear. Though skepticism lingered, Sarah's sincerity won over many. Even Kale and Lyra, initially dismissive of her claims, found themselves moved by her conviction. Together, they proposed a tentative truce, agreeing to work alongside the rebels to stabilize the situation. It was a risky move, fraught with uncertainty, but it marked the beginning of a fragile peace, one that would require sacrifices none of them could have anticipated. The road to reconciliation proved far more arduous than anyone anticipated. Old grievances resurfaced with alarming frequency, threatening to unravel the fragile coalition forged in the aftermath of the explosion. Meetings between representatives of the elites and the rebels devolved into shouting matches, with accusations of betrayal and hypocrisy flying freely. Progress stalled as both sides dug in their heels, unwilling to compromise on fundamental issues. To bridge the gap, Sarah introduced a series of collaborative projects aimed at fostering mutual understanding. Teams composed of members from opposing factions worked side by side to repair damaged infrastructure, distribute food supplies, and care for the injured. At first, cooperation felt forced, marred by underlying tension and distrust. But as days turned into weeks, small victories began to accumulate. A joint engineering crew successfully restored power to a critical sector, earning praise from all quarters. A medical team saved a child suffering from acute radiation poisoning, showcasing the benefits of combining diverse skill sets. These successes, though modest, planted seeds of hope. Gradually, barriers began to dissolve, replaced by a sense of camaraderie born from shared hardship. Bonds formed not out of necessity, but genuine respect. Veterans of the rebellion acknowledged the dedication of the elites, while former skeptics admitted that the rebels' passion stemmed from legitimate grievances rather than blind malice. Still, challenges persisted. Disagreements over resource allocation sparked renewed conflicts, testing the resolve of even the most committed peacemakers. A particularly contentious dispute arose over access to the remaining crystalline structures, with both factions claiming ownership based on historical precedent. Emotions ran high, culminating in a tense standoff that nearly reignited hostilities. It took Sarah's intervention to defuse the situation. Standing between armed guards from both sides, she reminded everyone of the stakes, not just for the colony, but for the future of their species. Her words resonated deeply, prompting leaders to agree to a rotating schedule for accessing the crystals. While imperfect, the solution demonstrated a willingness to find common ground, a crucial step toward lasting unity. As stability returned to the colony, attention shifted to addressing the root causes of their plight. Scientists aboard the Erebus intensified their studies of Ethereum, hoping to unlock its secrets and mitigate its harmful effects. Breakthroughs came slowly, but each discovery brought fresh insights into the nature of the mutations. Researchers identified specific genes activated by Ethereum exposure, shedding light on why some individuals thrived while others perished. Medical advancements followed suit. Treatments designed to alleviate the physical strain of using mutant abilities showed promise, reducing incidents of exhaustion and injury. Psychologists developed therapies tailored to managing the psychological toll of enhanced perception, helping mutants navigate the overwhelming influx of sensory data. For the first time, there was hope that the benefits of their powers could be enjoyed without sacrificing health or sanity. However, these gains came at a steep cost. Resources dwindled rapidly as the colony poured everything into research and development. Food shortages became commonplace, forcing rationing measures that strained relations once again. Morale dipped as colonists struggled to balance optimism with grim realities. Some questioned whether the pursuit of knowledge was worth the suffering endured along the way. Complicating matters further was the realization that Ethereum's influence extended beyond Solis 9. Scans revealed traces of the element scattered across neighboring star systems, suggesting that similar mutations might occur elsewhere. The implications were staggering. If humanity's transformation was part of a larger cosmic phenomenon, then the fate of the colony represented only the tip of the iceberg. Questions arose about the ethical responsibilities of the mutants. Should they share their discoveries with other colonies, potentially accelerating global evolution? Or should they guard their knowledge, protecting themselves from exploitation? Debate raged fiercely, reflecting the broader existential dilemma facing the colony. Were they pioneers charting a bold new path for their species, or guinea pigs in an experiment orchestrated by forces beyond comprehension? Answers eluded them, leaving only uncertainty and the nagging fear that their choices might shape the destiny of countless worlds yet unseen. The discovery of Ethereum's widespread presence ignited renewed interest in the ancient civilization responsible for its creation. Archaeological teams scoured Solis. 9. Unearthing relics that offered tantalizing glimpses into a culture vastly different from their own. Intricate carvings depicted beings wielding powers eerily similar to those manifested by the colonists, raising questions about the connection between the two species. One artifact, a monolithic tablet etched with cryptic symbols, proved particularly intriguing. Deciphering the text revealed fragments of a narrative describing a society torn apart by internal strife. According to the inscriptions, the ancients had harnessed Ethereum to achieve unprecedented prosperity, only to succumb to greed and infighting. Their downfall came swiftly, leaving behind ruins and warnings carved into stone. Beware the seduction of power, lest you repeat our folly. The parallels were impossible to ignore. Fear gripped the colony as colonists grappled with the notion that they were walking the same path as their predecessors. Could history truly be repeating itself, or was there still time to change course? Philosophers and theologians debated endlessly, drawing connections between the ancients' demise and the moral dilemmas confronting the mutants. Some saw the tablet as a cautionary tale, advocating for restraint and humility. Others dismissed it as irrelevant, arguing that modern humanity possessed tools and knowledge unavailable to the ancients. Regardless of interpretation, the artifact served as a sobering reminder of the stakes involved. Every decision made by the colonists carried weight, not just for their immediate survival, but for the legacy they would leave behind. In response, a movement emerged calling for introspection and accountability. Leaders encouraged open dialogue, inviting input from all levels of society to ensure decisions reflected collective values. Though slow and often contentious, this approach fostered a sense of ownership and responsibility among the colonists. Perhaps, they reasoned, the key to avoiding the ancients' fate lay not in rejecting power outright, but in learning to wield it wisely. With unity restored and lessons learned from the past, the colony embarked on a bold experiment. Drawing inspiration from the ancients' achievements and failures, they devised a plan to harness Ethereum's potential responsibly. Central to this effort was the establishment of a council tasked with overseeing its use, ensuring transparency and equitable distribution. Members included representatives from all factions, including former rebels, elites, and neutral parties, each bringing unique perspectives to the table. Infrastructure underwent significant upgrades, incorporating advanced filtration systems to minimize Ethereum's harmful effects. Medical facilities expanded, providing comprehensive care for mutants struggling with side effects. Educational programs taught children how to safely develop and utilize their abilities, fostering a generation equipped to handle the challenges ahead. Simultaneously, diplomatic outreach commenced. Messages were sent to nearby colonies, offering assistance and collaboration in navigating the complexities of cosmic mutation. Responses varied, from cautious interest to outright hostility, but the initiative marked a pivotal shift in mindset. No longer content to isolate themselves, the colonists embraced their role as ambassadors of a new era, determined to prevent others from repeating their mistakes. Challenges remained, of course. Resource scarcity continued to plague operations, requiring creative solutions and occasional sacrifices. Tensions occasionally flared, particularly when disagreements arose over policy implementation. Yet, the overall trajectory leaned toward progress. Slowly but surely, the colony transformed from a fractured outpost into a thriving hub of innovation and cooperation. At its heart stood Sarah, whose vision had guided them through darkness. Though reluctant to take credit, she became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds, unity and determination could forge a brighter future. Her leadership inspired others to embrace their roles as stewards of a new frontier, poised to redefine what it meant to be human. Just as momentum built towards sustainable growth, an extraordinary event reshaped the colony's understanding of their place in the universe. During routine maintenance of the crystalline structures, engineers detected anomalous readings emanating from deep within the network. Further investigation revealed a hidden chamber containing a massive sphere composed entirely of condensed Etherium. Unlike anything encountered before, the sphere pulsed with rhythmic vibrations, emitting frequencies that resonated with the very fabric of space-time. Attempts to study the object yielded astonishing results. Sensors indicated that the sphere acted as a conduit, linking Solis 9 to countless other locations across the galaxy. More astonishingly, it appeared sentient, responding to stimuli with patterns resembling language. Communication attempts proved successful, albeit rudimentary. Through painstaking trial and error, researchers established basic exchanges, learning that the sphere belonged to a network of similar constructs scattered throughout the cosmos. This revelation sent shockwaves through the colony. Far from being isolated anomalies, the mutations were part of a grand design orchestrated by intelligences operating on scales incomprehensible to human minds. The sphere, dubbed the Nexus, served as a gateway to realms beyond conventional understanding, offering access to knowledge and experiences that transcended mortal limitations. Excitement mingled with trepidation as colonists grappled with the implications. Should they embrace this connection, risking exposure to forces they barely comprehended? Or should they sever ties, preserving their autonomy at the cost of untold opportunities? Opinions diverged sharply, sparking heated debates reminiscent of earlier conflicts. Ultimately, curiosity prevailed. Under strict protocols, exploratory missions ventured into the Nexus, documenting encounters with entities existing outside traditional definitions of life. These beings, composed of pure energy or abstract concepts, communicated through sensations rather than words, challenging every assumption about consciousness and existence. Each journey expanded horizons, revealing layers of reality previously hidden from view. Yet, they also underscored humanity's insignificance in the grand scheme of things, a humbling realization that tempered arrogance with humility. Integration with the Nexus marked a turning point for the colony. Access to interdimensional pathways unlocked resources previously unimaginable, alleviating shortages and fueling exponential growth. Technologies derived from interactions with alien entities revolutionized every aspect of life, from agriculture to medicine. Crops flourished under artificial suns powered by captured stellar energy, while treatments eliminated diseases once considered incurable. Social structures adapted accordingly. Traditional hierarchies dissolved, replaced by fluid networks of expertise and contribution. Roles evolved dynamically, reflecting the needs of a society constantly reinventing itself. Education emphasized adaptability and creativity, equipping individuals to thrive in an ever-changing landscape. Art and culture flourished, blending influences from diverse civilizations encountered through the Nexus. Yet, not all changes were positive. Increased reliance on external sources bred complacency, weakening resilience honed through centuries of struggle. Dependency on Nexus-derived technologies created vulnerabilities, as disruptions in connectivity threatened cascading failures. Moreover, exposure to alien philosophies challenged core beliefs, sparking existential crises among those unable to reconcile conflicting ideologies. Balancing innovation with preservation became paramount. Efforts focused on maintaining self-sufficiency, ensuring that advances complemented rather than supplanted indigenous capabilities. Cultural heritage received renewed emphasis, safeguarding traditions that define the colony's identity. Leadership prioritized education, empowering citizens to critically evaluate foreign influences and integrate them thoughtfully. Through it all, Sarah remained a steadying presence, reminding everyone of their roots while encouraging exploration of new possibilities. Her guidance helped navigate the delicate dance between embracing change and honoring legacies, embodying the spirit of a people determined to evolve without losing themselves in the process. Decades passed, and the colony blossomed into a beacon of progress and harmony. Its success inspired neighboring settlements to adopt similar practices, fostering a network of interconnected communities united by shared goals and values. Trade routes expanded, cultural exchange flourished, and collaborations tackled universal challenges ranging from climate stabilization to disease eradication. Central to this renaissance was the Nexus, which evolved from a mysterious artifact into a cornerstone of galactic civilization. Its portals facilitated diplomacy, enabling peaceful resolutions to conflicts that might otherwise have escalated into violence. Shared access to its resources promoted equality, narrowing gaps between wealthy and impoverished regions. Most importantly, it provided a platform for dialogue, bridging divides created by distance, language, and ideology. Within the colony itself, governance models shifted toward decentralized systems emphasizing local autonomy and global cooperation. Decision-making processes incorporated input from all stakeholders, ensuring policies reflected collective wisdom rather than narrow interests. Transparency became a hallmark, with information freely accessible to promote accountability and trust. Education transformed into a lifelong journey, blending formal instruction with experiential learning. Students explored Nexus-linked dimensions, gaining first-hand insights into the diversity of existence. Curricula emphasized empathy, critical thinking, and adaptability, preparing graduates to contribute meaningfully to an increasingly complex world. Artistic expression reached new heights, blending traditional forms with avant-garde innovations inspired by interdimensional encounters. Music, literature, and visual arts reflected a synthesis of human and non-human perspectives, celebrating unity amidst difference. Festivals commemorated milestones achieved through collaboration, reinforcing bonds forged through shared triumphs. Throughout these developments, the memory of hardships endured served as a poignant reminder of the importance of vigilance and compassion. Monuments dedicated to fallen comrades stood as testaments to resilience, inspiring future generations to honor their sacrifices by striving for excellence. As the colony matured, its gaze turned outward, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the cosmos. Expeditions ventured farther than ever before, mapping uncharted territories and establishing footholds on distant planets. Settlements sprang up, each mirroring the original colony's ethos of inclusivity and innovation. Networks of trade and communication spanned parsecs, weaving a tapestry of interconnected societies stretching across the stars. Scientific breakthroughs accelerated, propelled by access to knowledge accumulated over millennia by civilizations long extinct. Quantum computing, nanotechnology, and bioengineering merged seamlessly, giving rise to applications limited only by imagination. Medical advancements eradicated aging, extending lifespans indefinitely while preserving quality of life. Energy production transitioned entirely to renewable sources, eliminating dependence on finite reserves. Philosophical discourse flourished, grappling with questions raised by technological and societal leaps. Debates centered on ethics, identity, and purpose, examining what it meant to be human in an age of limitless potential. Religious and spiritual movements adapted, incorporating scientific discoveries into belief systems that celebrated wonder and mystery. Environmental stewardship took center stage, recognizing humanity's responsibility to protect ecosystems both terrestrial and extraterrestrial. Restoration projects revived degraded landscapes, reintroducing native species and fostering biodiversity. Conservation efforts extended to alien habitats, respecting the sanctity of life in all its forms. Leadership structures evolved to accommodate expanding domains, emphasizing flexibility and responsiveness. Governance models incorporated AI advisors capable of processing vast amounts of data, enhancing decision-making efficiency. Grassroots initiatives empowered individuals to effect change at grassroots levels, ensuring representation for marginalized voices. Through it all, the colony retained its pioneering spirit, embracing uncertainty with courage and conviction. Challenges persisted, but they were met with determination and ingenuity, reflecting a commitment to continuous improvement and adaptation. Centuries after the initial mutations, humanity stood transformed, no longer confined by earthly boundaries or constrained by mortal limitations. The descendants of Solis Nine's colonists had become custodians of a galaxy reborn, guardians of a legacy shaped by struggle, sacrifice, and unwavering hope. Their journey exemplified the boundless potential inherent in all life, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit when faced with adversity. Yet, even as they gazed toward infinite horizons, they remembered their origins. Archives preserved stories of pioneers who dared defy odds, chronicling trials overcome and lessons learned. Memorials honored those who gave everything for a brighter tomorrow, serving as reminders of the cost of progress. Looking back, they saw not just a chronicle of events, but a reflection of themselves, aspirational, flawed, and profoundly beautiful. They understood that evolution was ongoing, a process never truly complete, and embraced the responsibility that came with shaping destinies yet unwritten. In doing so, they affirmed a truth timeless and universal, that within the hearts of all beings lies the capacity for greatness, waiting to be awakened by the spark of possibility. And so, they pressed onward, carrying the torch of discovery into the eternal night, guided by the promise of a future brighter than any star. Subscribe now to join us on this epic journey through the cosmos.